Hey folks, Sam Basu here from Uno Platform. So this is exciting. It's not every day that we get to talk about a brand new IDE, but that's what we have today with Google's Antigravity. So if you're a .NET developer looking to explore your horizons a little bit, look at modern agentic workflows, let me introduce you to Google's Antigravity and show you how you can get set up with modern .NET cross-platform development with Uno Platform and Antigravity. Let's go. So let me share my desktop here. So first up is, if you have not seen or heard Google Antigravity, this is a new IDE from Google, the makers of Gemini. So it's a lot about AI, but it's a new IDE, and it does a lot of very cool things. It's an AI IDE at its very core. It has higher level abstraction, so you can type higher level things to AI agents. It's very good with cross-surface agents, which is actually very powerful. So it shows you an inbox. You can spin off multiple agents and have them work together. Great with user feedback, agent-first experience, gives you an inbox. So all of those are great things. So again, no matter what OS that you are on, get situated with Antigravity. They show you how to get started, and they have a very nice CSS animation with your mouse. So get situated and download that. I already have that here. So this is Google's Antigravity. Might look a little familiar. I think it may have started from a fork of VS Code, but that's kind of where the similarities end. And it's brand new agentic experiences. One thing that I really like with Antigravity is they have this agent manager. So you can spin off multiple processes and multiple AI agents doing work on your behalf. And then they kind of bring it all together into this inbox experience. So you can kind of keep an eye on what each of the agents are doing. So what does any of this have to do with modern .NET? Well, let's go back. So this is Uno Platform. So this is cross-platform .NET. That's open source stack. And from a single shared code base, you get to build apps that run on mobile, desktop, and embedded devices and web browsers. So what's not to like? And again, you're writing .NET in C# and XAML, and your app just goes to all the places from a single shared code base. Now, because it is all very cross-platform, we want that dev experience to be the same. So if I look at the docs here, nowadays you have a lot of choice. It doesn't matter what OS or IDE that you want to be on, or whichever AI agent that you want to be using, you should be able to do Uno Platform development from your choice of tools. So now you see this new thing called Google Antigravity. Now, as we are recording this, just keep in mind that Antigravity is fairly new. So it needs some maturity. Some features are in preview, so we kind of mentioned that up front. But as with any Uno Platform development, no matter what OS or IDE that you're using, we always recommend that you start here. This is an Uno.Check tool. This is one command line tool that gets you situated with all the SDKs, because you depend on the iOS and Android, Windows, and Mac SDKs to actually build a true cross-platform native app and then have it deployed to the simulators. So start with Uno.Check, one command line tool that gets you situated with all the bits, and then you're off and running. So how do you get set up now with Antigravity? Well, we start talking about some MCPs. So what are those? So let's go over to the MCP docs here. Our point is to bring some contextual intelligence to whichever IDE or AI agent that you're using, in this case, Antigravity, but you will want your agents to have some context and awareness of the type of app that you're building. So this is Model Context Protocol. We offer you a couple of servers here. This one here is the remote server. This is really good at looking up docs and doing a search and a fetch and getting agents all set up with your workflows. And then once your app is up and running, you need this app MCP, which is running locally, and it gives your AI a lot more control over the app that you're building. So you have more context. You can take a screenshot. You can click on things. You can type in text and look at the visual tree and the snapshot. So much more interactivity and testing things. So you, the developer, has more confidence building with AI. So you definitely want these MCP tools to be wired up in whichever AI agent or IDE that you want to use. So let's go back to our Antigravity setup here. So this one's saying, hey, once you run this, let's get you set up. So install Antigravity, and then we're going to set you up with some MCPs. And it's kind of walking you through these steps here. It's giving me a little bit of JSON here. But it does make it clear that it does need an Uno Platform project to actually get the MCPs working. That makes sense, right? Because otherwise it's MCP tools pertaining to a certain framework. So what I have done here is, if I head over to create your first app with Uno Platform, we kind of step you through, like you do a .NET new Uno Platform, new up a new app, open it up, and then we can get going. So let's open up Antigravity here. I already have an app which is super simple. It's just a hello world template, does nothing else. And it's already saying, hey, I see a new upgrade to your SDKs, so I can skip that for now. So this is a hello world app, doesn't do much, but it's a Uno platform app. Now, how do I make sure that my AI agent is set up to work with some of these MCP tools? So if I go back again to where we had started, let's look at the setup here. And let's look at Antigravity. And we say, here is a little bit of JSON. And that's an MCP configuration that you should give Antigravity so it knows where to get those tools from. So copy that out. So what I've done here in Antigravity, let's actually start up a new chat here. New thread, and this one you can see it's using Gemini 3. You have your choice of models if you want, but in here I can go in and look at my MCP servers, right? This one is a list of all the MCP servers that Firebase and other things that Antigravity wants to bring in. I can now also say, hey, let me actually look at some of the configurations and how do I manage those MCP servers? So here is a listing of the MCP servers that I have right now. So in this case, I can go into visualizing the raw configuration. So this is where I'm dropping in that mcp.config.json. Exactly what you have in the docs. I have it as server URL pointing to the exact URL from our MCP stuff. And then, so this is the Uno MCP, this is the Uno App MCP, this one saying, hey, you need to run a .NET command, and you need to start up the dev server for us to keep your CLI tooling and AI tooling in sync with your app, and so on. So drop this in, and they kind of point you, like from the MCP, managing, they kind of take you directly to this raw configuration. And this essentially lives in this place called Gemini Antigravity. So on your Windows or your Mac machine, if you head out to wherever you keep your code, this is where, if I show you some of my hidden files, and let's go look around here, there is Gemini and there is Antigravity. That's where it dropped the MCP config, right? So this can be at a per project level, or if you do it like this, where it's good for everyone using Antigravity on that machine. So I have that, and I'm pointing it to these things. With that JSON configuration, now I can come back, and now I see that it picks up the Uno MCP. So these are the documentation and the Agentic setup guides. So I got my docs fetch, I got my rules initialization. You see some of the system prompts in there as well. And I got my docs fetch and doc search. All of that is set up. And then I have my Uno App MCPs. These are about a dozen MCP tools, which are great for, again, that interactivity that AI agents need. Now, again, since this all is in preview, and in fact, we added Antigravity support with Uno platform just in the latest release. So again, preview bits from Antigravity and some of the support is maturing. So if you don't see the MCP tools right away, do a couple of refreshes, close down the IDE once and bring it back up. It will eventually see all of it, right? So now you can see that I'm kind of all set up. So let's go back to the agent, and let's ask, well, actually, before I do that, let's go back to my IDE here again, the docs. And one more thing it says that, hey, once you start up, let's make sure that you can actually launch DNS, our DNS server, dev server. So this is where I can look up my terminal. And let's make sure that for this particular Uno app, I can actually launch dev server. This is going to spin up a new window here that's going to say, who am I? And I have access to all of the tooling. So that's it. I'm good here. Now, again, if you're running this for the first time, this Uno App MCPs, some of these, like setting the root thing might be important before you actually see all like 12 of them. So what I have done here is followed the documentation. So this kind of says, hey, once you're doing this, just do this thing one time with Antigravity if you're, for the first time. It should not need it for subsequent runs, but just for the first time, let me make this a little bigger. And if I can just come in here and say, hey, make sure that you are set up with Uno platform MCPs, initialize yourself at the root of the folder, so you're kind of set up with that kind of access. So again, I'm doing all of this live so you can see the agent thinking here a little bit. This being a cross-platform app, it notices all of the target frameworks and platforms where I can run. I'm just going to set that to desktop for now. So it's now initializing Uno platform support, which is exactly what we want. and it's thinking, making sure it has all of those tools, which is great. It found the rules in it, the usage in it, and it's setting up the routes. I have initialized, and I have good to go. I'm now ready, which is great. But let's ask it again. Do you have access to Uno? And if I can type, platform MCP tools, right? So we're asking the agent, hey, you set up some routes. I see the visual way that you're listing all of the MCP tools right here. But we're just asking it again, like, are you set up? Do you know how to run these MCP tools? So let's see what it comes back with. But as you can see, like already, Antigravity setup is not much different from other editors like VS Code. Visual Studio is a bigger IDE. This is much more of a configuration-driven, lightweight, but it's much more of an agentic workflow. So this is thinking for a second and said, hey, I got documentation MCPs, I got app control MCPs, I can get the runtime info, I can start the app and so on. What would you like to do next and so on? Now, the benefit of having these MCP tools is you are grounded. Your AI is much more contextual. So this is a very simple app here, but what if I wanted to do some navigation or I wanted to do some MVUX pattern? So let's do a quick query here. How do I do page navigation in Uno platform apps, right? So without any context, most agents will, try to look up from their existing knowledge as to, how do I do things in Uno platform, but they don't have to guess because we are essentially feeding them all of these MCP tools to say, like, don't run blind. You have tools. Go do a search, go do a lookup on our docs. So it's grounded in the realities of platform development. So you are that much more confident in the type of responses you're getting back from your AI agent. So it's thinking here for a second, and notice how it's running the doc search. Like, this is the first step. So it realizes that it should not just respond without actually checking with the tools that it has. And it's exploring some documentation, and eventually, if it finds a few things of interest, it will actually do a fetch, which is exactly what it has done here. So it's fetched a few documentation pages. You can click on any one of these, and you can see like exactly which page it fetched and how it's making sense of it, which is great. It gives you the insight as to how it's coming up with these. Now it's checking my project configuration, and it's not going to find anything. It's just an empty project. It just has hello world, but it's setting me up to say, hey, if you did want to add more pages, you should add them maybe as listings in your app XAML.cs. It's looking at my main page.xaml, it's analyzing, and if I were to add more pages into my app, it's going to give me some guidance on exactly how I do navigation. Now, this is probably MVVM design pattern to start with C# and XAML. If I wanted to switch it up to MVUX, I sure can. Because again, it's all grounded with the docs, and that's coming from these MCP tools. Like the Uno MCPs, they are really good at docs searching and doc fetching and setting up agents to do their things right. So, and you can see a lot of the system prompts on how we exactly do this. So it's come back with a task, and it's giving me a whole bunch of things here, which is great. If I wanted to do navigation, here's how I add it as a frame. Here's how I navigate between pages, and here's how I carry parameters, and here's how I go back, all types of information, right? Which is great. But let's not go into adding navigation right now. What if I say, can you run this app on desktop? Please feel free to use MCP tools to launch the app. So now it might think a little bit on this one, because this is a brand new app, and I probably have not done a .NET restore, but I'm kind of specifically asking it to do a desktop build and get the targets figured out, get the dependencies figured out. Oh, and actually that was fairly quick. So it actually did a build here, right? So it's verifying app, the running state. So take a look at this here. So it's actually launched the app with Uno App Start. That's an MCP tool because I asked it to, because it's going to launch the dev server with it, and now you're going to have a direct link to the running app from inside the agent, which is great because now you can interact with it. And it's also gotten a screenshot. So it's checking its own work. Like, did I actually start the app? So if I go back here, you'll notice that this is the Uno Antigravity app that came up. It's got nothing but Hello Uno platform. But over here, you can see like I got hot design and hot reload already wired up. Everything is green. So it's noticing that there is a dev server running and it can keep things in sync between my running app. And there's a screenshot. Like, I didn't even ask it to do that, but this is the smartness of the AI agents. I also took a screenshot of the running app for you just to confirm. Now that the app is running, would you like me to demonstrate other things? And since I asked about navigation, it's saying, hey, can I add some navigation to you, to your app here? So again, agents trying to be helpful. But right up front, what you see here is MCP tools working hand in hand with AI agents. This time around with a Gemini AI agent running inside of my Antigravity. So brand new IDE, but the tools of your trade remain the same. You're doing .NET, you're doing cross-platform, just making sure that your AI agents have access to all of these, MCP tools. So they're grounded in the realities of your docs, and they're grounded with the context of your running app and the framework for which you're building. So that is a quick look at getting set up with Antigravity and modern .NET cross-platform development with Uno platform. So like I said, start with the docs here, get situated with Antigravity, then come over to Uno platform docs and see what we are. Look at all of our agentic development with all of the MCP tools. Come over to the docs and get situated. Make sure your MCP tools are all wired up, and then go to town. Here is Antigravity showing you all of the MCP tools. Here is your app running with full interactivity and grounded documentation from our MCP tools. So go off and running and build some amazing things. This is exciting. It's to have a brand new IDE. This is Google's Antigravity, and this is how you get set up with .NET development with Uno platform and Antigravity. So have fun, and thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.